Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shalabh Bakshi, Vice President, Digital Enterprise Services ASEAN at Siemens Digital Industries. Today, we are here to talk about the future of industrial operations, end-to-end digital integrations. So let's get straight to the point. Why are we here? COVID-19 has disrupted the supply chains and changed forever the way we look at it. It has impacted and made our supply chain more flexible by means of more automation. Digitalization of supply chain has been a norm now, and there has been now a virtual shift more towards digital and knowing things more virtually by means of data transparency, because you want to know everything that is going on in your supply chain in order to have the best accuracy possible. Most importantly, the cultural change that has happened to all of us, everyone working in the industry as manufacturers and as suppliers of technology, this has been also very tremendous. So we have moved from a survival to recovery and now business as usual. Even if you look at the way the supply chain systems have been evolving, the traditional supply chain model is no longer relevant. Integrated supply chain ecosystems have become more the norm, with customers, distributors, productions, suppliers, all being linked together through what we call as a supply chain control tower. The concept of supply chain control tower is not new. The idea is that there is a central functioning which brings in the capability of track and trace, and you are able to monitor and conform to all the requirements of the different stakeholders within the supply chain. Even if you look at the McKinsey model, you would also see that newer technologies, for example, related to autonomous vehicles, predictive shipping, drone delivery, all become part of the supply chain as well. So there's a lot of new technologies which are going to work together in order to make the warehouse more digital, the factory more smart, and at the end of the day, most importantly, is that you have that data backbone for end-to-end performance management. So clear takeaways: data transparency will be the key. More integrated processes will form across the value chain. Things and systems will need to be much more smarter, and there will be autonomous systems that will become a norm. And as I said before, people or talent development will need to take technology at its core. So you have to be more faster, more flexible, more efficient, more accurate, and more connected. Now, the biggest question for all of us on this forum is, how do we achieve this? What do we do to achieve this? And the answer to that is the combination of the real world with the digital world, which creates infinite opportunities from infinite data. The real world and the digital world combination forms something very magical, which is what we call at Siemens the digital enterprise. The digital enterprise formulates from design, realization, and optimization, all being seamlessly integrated so that you have a much more efficient supply chain or a value chain process across your manufacturing and the logistics flow. When we look at the digital enterprise, the first point what I want to talk about is the horizontal integration, which is created through the means of the digital twins and the connectivity across the value chain. But the horizontal integration across the digital twin of the product, the production, the performance, how does it happen? It happens through the means of what we call as the digital threads. Digital threads are nothing but maps of the digital journey based on specific workflows, which become which help us to become a real digital enterprise. Actually, we could have stopped at the horizontal flow, but nothing gets worked unless and until one of the most important points, as you saw, was that you want to have that clear data transparency, knowing how everything in your system works. And for that, you need data intelligence for data-driven decision making. This is where the combination of IT and OT come into play, so that you have information flow going from your controllers or sensors level all the way to the cloud, and by means of applications are able to analyze and review this data for valuable insights. So with that, you are able to now link all the relevant data points and be able to openly and collaboratively share that either with your partners, your suppliers, your customers. It could also link to things like smart buildings and smart grids. So the digital enterprise is enabled by the horizontal and the vertical integration that I just explained. And that's how you enable your digital enterprise and make your supply chain the most efficient. Now, I want to give you some examples of it, and by means of example, explain you. I mean, we spoke a little bit about the autonomous truck, and but very importantly is that you are able to simulate these behaviors within the virtual world before bringing such things on the road, right? And this is what, by means of software, is now possible because you can simulate the entire behavior, for example, with cruise control and so on, within the virtual world. You can actually run different scenarios, doesn't matter whether it is during the day or during the night, and make sure that these autonomous vehicles, which we put on the road, are very safe. And you can run these testing and trials all in the virtual world rather than in the physical world itself. So you could perfect your product within the virtual world. Now, you can do the same actually with an AMR. So you imagine an AGV or an AMR in a production facility. The same implementation for the autonomous vehicle within that space, within the logistics facility, can also be applied. AI becomes a key topic as well, because what we also want that the systems become much more smarter, much more efficient by themselves. And here you can see that at Siemens, we brought AI right to the shop floor level, right to the controller level. And here a robot is capturing the image of the object that it wants to pick and determining the grasping point, the best grasping point actually for it to be able to pick up the object in the most efficient way and place and utilize it. This helps the efficiency of the production facility, because you can now not necessarily interfere in the overall process as humans, and everything works what we call so-called lights out factory. Neural networks play a key role in making this possible. And as you can see, by means that the robot was able to calculate using the AI module, the best grasping point, and then able to pick up the object. And applying this further, you can also make two robots work with each other. And these robots can perform an operation independent of any interference and actually talk to each other and make sure that whatever they are creating together is created. This works in terms of the work instructions that have been given to the robot, and then using AI, the robot also learns what it has to be doing, and it's also connected to the digital twin for the different scenarios that we had built up. Now, moving on also in terms of simulation, simulation is actually plays a key role because it helps us to formulate physics-based modeling in which you can visualize and develop the different scenarios of how a particular process is working and whether this is the most efficient process. You could also simulate the behaviors of humans within the process, and you can see what does the human need to do and whether that is ergonomically the best way for the human to be also working. So this has even a trade-off impact, because you are able to now get much more benefit rather than just making sure that your supply chain works much more efficiently. Imagine the same scenario now doing the entire factory or entire logistics environment. So you could simulate everything in the virtual world now and actually utilize the most efficient manufacturing methods, the most efficient value chain methods, and run different scenarios in order to keep this constant improvement going. And how does that impact your operations? And you can simulate all of that in the virtual world. What I explained to you was a physics-based modeling, the physics-based data points, right? And now we come to the mathematical data points, which is what we collect in the cloud-based platform. So for example, here, we are collecting the OEE information, the throughput, all coming from the shop floor, where we can monitor the operations and how well the operations are working. we can also do that not only for one particular plant, but imagine you had multiple plants or multiple logistics facilities, and you wanted to monitor all of those parallelly in order to see your global output, in order to see your global downtime. That is also possible by means of these cloud technologies that we have within Siemens. And we are implementing such solutions already with our customers. So here you can see for this brewery, the production downtimes across the different sites. So for a manager at C-suite level and so on, you can actually easily see how your value chain, how your production is actually getting impacted by the different disruptions, and what are the reasons behind it, and how do you want to change that. Actually, this would be all good, but we went further in terms of integration. As I said, everything is about end-to-end integrations. So with a click of a button, you can actually move the mathematical data model back into the scenarios which you did during the simulations, and actually run the model with the real data. This is an absolute beauty and industry first, because this is all now integrated together, which would take a lot of time for different systems on how they work together, how do we create new plugin, and so on. And we are able to have this adapter between MindSphere and our plant simulation software, so that you can actually use this with an integrated manner. For an operator level, by the way, the use of that information at the cloud is great. Okay, sometimes when we are working from home and so on, it's fine. But what about machinery? And you want to basically monitor how your machinery is particularly working. And that we can do by means of AR, VR. And here you can see that any data point on this machinery and how it is impacting the entire value chain can also be monitored. So you could actually go do a deep dive in a particular step of your value chain in order to make an improvement possible. Now, if I go to the next video, you will see here we have another portfolio which is called real-time locating system. And using this portfolio, we can actually identify relevant objects between the production and the logistics environment down to the centimeter. So you remember when I said this track and trace functionality that we wanted to have, and knowing where things are, this has become so much more critical. And with RTLS, you are able to get that, because you are able to monitor the different equipments that you have in your value chain and make sure that everything works in synchronization with each other. With the RTLS portfolio, you are able to get all of that and put that into a platform and ensure that you have a complete transparency of where all the different equipments are and how the intelligence systems are working and where the placement of those are. And to do this, and to even do some of the work that we all are doing, industrial networks play a key role. The enterprise network is a norm, but the industrial network, the OT networks, have a very different requirement compared to the IT networks. They need to have high availability, robustness, determination, mobile applications, and so on. So we need to have a big thrust on our industrial networks as well. So to make sure that we are able to achieve our future of industrial operations with end-to-end digital integration, this can be only enabled by expertise across the value chain and the technology enabler using consulting, implementation, and optimization. So we are able to determine the digitalization level of the company and formulate a digital strategy, implement these solutions which I just explained to you, some of the examples which I just explained to you, and many more. And then finally, also with data transparency, create valuable insight. So our approach for a successful digital transformation, our approach for a successful value chain transformation is the CIO approach, and at Digital Enterprise Services, we enable that. With that, thank you very much, and thank you for your time, and I hope I was able to give you some good insights about how we can transform. Thank you.